Alright, okay, so in this tutorial, I'll be talking about parametric modeling techniques that you can use on different objects such as windows or doors or maybe dormers, as you see in this example. And let me just show you what this actually is before we begin modeling. Let me make like 2 copies or something. 1, 2, second one, there you go. And now we can make a really fast versions of this dormer. So let me just change this vertex to a corner. As you can see, everything is changing with it. Let me add another vertex there, move it upwards maybe, and this might be one of our first designs. We can change the grid. There you go. If you press on show end result, you can see what's happening. So we can change the number of those segments. If you like that, maybe this is good. Maybe add some more. In the second one, I don't want this bent wall right here, so I'll just disable it. And maybe I want to have it straight, but not bent, and as well a little bit higher. So this is the first one. I can change this shape right here for a half round, maybe a little bit bigger. There you go. I can change my shape right here so that it goes all the way to the beginning of this dormer, and this might be our second design. Maybe I can play around with this line as well, make another variation, something like this, make it a corner, give it a little bit more space, reset our tangents and play around with it, make it a Bezier. Yeah, this might be our second design. And we can leave the third one as it is. So you can see you can do a lot of things pretty fast. So let's start with it. I will just reset my scene. I don't want to save and confirm. Yes. Alright, so in order to do this, I will begin with my rectangle. I'll make it 110 and 150 in width. Alright, so right now I want to change my pivot of my object and I want to adjust it to right down corner. I will just turn on my snap and move it to my corner. There you go. I want to zero out my transforms right now. Way to do this, you just go to select move, right click, and you can right click on those arrows to zero it out. Alright, so when we have this, the reason why I'm doing this is because we are going to build just 1/2 of this object, and then we will use our symmetry modifier to make another copy of it, a mirror, as you might say. Alright, so I want to convert this to editable spline right now, because we want to use this as our control line, and I'll move it forward. Next step will be making a reference of this object. I will just make reference. I am holding down shift and moving it forward so that you can copy your object. I'll make it a reference, confirm, and basically what the reference does, you probably already know what is a copy and instance. A reference is basically an instance, but it allows you to add a modifier on top of your object without affecting your initial object. Let me show you what I mean. If I apply a bend modifier in a y-axis, increase the angle and direction to 90, I'll just make it -90. There you go. Something like this. I can increase the angle. So as you can see, our object is affected by a modifier, but this one isn't, and it is a reference. So I can still change my initial object to some different shape, and if I confirm this change, my reference object will be changed with it, but there is a modifier on top of it. Now there is this line in between, which indicates this is a reference line. If I move my modifier below that line, it will apply on all of these objects, on all of my instances I have. So I'll just move it above, and as you can see, it affects only my reference object. And basically this is the way we are going to build our dormer right now. So let me just delete this. Delete, and I'll adjust this a little bit. Yeah, like this is alright. And let me make a reference again, confirm. And what I will be building right now are those walls behind. Now, we don't need those two elements right here, so we want to delete them actually. Now, you can go to select spline select modifier. You can select those two segments here and go to delete spline. There you go. And right now I can apply my extrude modifier, make it a negative value, like -100 is alright, I guess. And right now I want to apply my shell modifier. Shell, to give it a little bit of a thickness. Outer mount around 15 is alright. As you can see, it doesn't match perfectly right now because there is some stretching happening. You can use an option called straighten corners, which will fix this problem. So right now we can test this out if this is working correctly. If I move my vertex, everything's moving with it. Now there is one thing. If I want to refine my spline and add some vertices, there is some jumping happening. Now the reason for this is, let me just delete those vertices. When we were selecting those segments here to delete, each and every segment in 3ds Max has its own number. And when we change our spline, when we add some vertices to it, let me just show you something. I'll go to environment, change my background color to something whiter because it's fairly difficult to see. I'll change my color to environment background. There you go. And in the spline, I can actually show vertex numbers. There you go. So right now we have 4 vertices, number 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, it goes counterclockwise. If I add another vertex, the number 2 jumped right here. So right now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can remember, the number of those segments we've chosen to be deleted were 3 and 4. And you can see this is number 3 and 4 that was deleted. If I add another vertex, it jumps again to 3 and 4. If I do it again, 3 and 4 is deleted. So that means 3ds Max remembers those numbers. And way to fix this is basically, we don't want to delete 3rd and 4th segment, but the 1st and 2nd. This way, those 2 segments will never change actually. So the way to do this is pretty simple. We can actually change this vertex. This is the first one. And I want to make my first one right here. I will make it a first. Make first. There you go. And right now, all I need to do is go back to my object. And instead of selecting my number 3 and 4, I will select my number 1 and 2. And this way, it is working correctly. I can add some segments and nothing's happening. Now, you can apply this if you'd never want to add some segments or some polygons or whatever to the object, you don't really have to worry about this. But this is definitely something to keep in mind if you want to change some geometry when you're working with parametric models, basically. So this way, this is working correctly right now, and we can continue working on this. So this was the wall behind. Now there is a If you want to have different material on the inner side and the other material on the outer side, there is a option kind of. You can select your interfaces, apply another modifier which is called material, and you can set the material ID to number 2. So right now what happened is if I go to my material editor and create new multi-sub-object material, I can discard the old one. I will add to the first one just the standard material, and to the second one standard as well, but I will change the colors. So the first color will be something reddish kind of, yeah, and the second one will be white for a wall, or basically wall. I can apply my material right here, and as you can see, there is some problem happening. For some reason there was the material number 3, so I'll just add one and copy it to the number 3 instance. I'm not sure why that happened, but it doesn't really matter. So as a next step, what I want to do is make, well, I want to change my viewport back to my gradient color. I want to make another reference. Make the reference, and right now we can delete those 2 elements as well. Go to spline select, segment first and second one segment, and delete spline. I can apply my sweep modifier. I just want to have my bar, and we can play around with this again. Let me change this color to something grayish. And right now I just want to change my parameters a little bit, and we can change the axis as well. So we are affecting this object a little bit differently. So something like this. Now there you have an option as well to corner your radius, which is quite nice in a lot of cases. So this is another element. We can try it out if everything's working correctly. And it looks like it's fine. I can add some segments there and try something with them. Yep, this is working correctly as well. Alright, so my next step will be, actually I will make the glass. So again, make a reference, and this will be just simple extrude. I want to have it only on 1 centimeter, something like that. I can move it a little bit inwards. Next step, what I'll be doing, let me change the color to something bluish, something like that. And the next step will be creating this grid inside of the window. So first step is making a reference. Again, make an extrude, but this one a little bigger, maybe 3 centimeters, something like this might be alright. Now I want to create a plane. This will be a little bit of a combination of a reference and Boolean operation. So let me just move it like that and move it inside of this object, exactly like this. Now what I want to do is apply a compound object and make a Boolean, and this Boolean will be intersection. That means all of these objects that are intersecting with each other will be shown to us. So I'll just pick operand B and pick this object. This way what I've got is kind of a good controller where I can say what I want to do with with this grid right here. You can go to your operand in your Boolean inside. If you click on plane, you can go back to your settings. So if I change my number of my segments right here, I can change it as well. Now the only thing that is left to do is actually apply a lattice modifier. Lattice. I want to have struts only from edges and change the radius to maybe 1.5. I can move it inwards. Alright, so this is working as well. And we can, as I mentioned before, if you show end result, we can change the number of those segments and it is working pretty well. One of my last steps here will be making another reference. Make reference, and in this left view, let me just create a profile for a window frame. Make a line, and I'll just start drawing it out. Nothing special, just something simple. Close spline, yes, confirm. And let's just edit this line a little bit. Now I'll select those two and make a fillet, as well as here. And yeah, just some simple shape. It is actually pretty big. Now make it smaller. Maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think it will be working well like that. So what I want to do next is select this spline that I created, which might be a little bit difficult to find. So there it is. And I want to apply a sweep modifier as well. Make it a sweep. And I want to use custom section. Select my drawn section. And we need to make some adjustments right here. So this is not working correctly right now. What we can do is actually change the angle. As you can see, if I write 90 down there, I can adjust this. Those settings I don't really need, X and Y. And I can play around with it a little bit more to fit it into the window. So I think this is actually not too bad. Now, what we need to change is, as you can see, we don't need this middle part. So I can go back to my reference, make a spline select. Now I just disabled my sweep because it converts it to an editable poly actually, and then you are not able to select your spline select. So I'll select my segment and say delete spline. And right now I can apply my sweep modifier. And this way it deleted this middle part that I don't really need. So let's change the color to something more brownish, kind of. Confirm. So this will be my frame. It's still a little big, but it doesn't matter. You got the idea of what I'm doing. And what we can do right now is actually apply symmetry modifier on all of these objects. Make it a flip. So this is my first object. Symmetry. Flip. Now symmetry. If you do flip right now, it is not working correctly. The reason for that is you need to change this mirror center, and I'll just adjust it to the center of this object. Now I need to do the same with this symmetry. Now I need to adjust it as well, flip it, and change the mirror, move it to the middle. Do the same with this class, symmetry, flip it, and one of those last things we can do actually is, if I go back to my extrude, I can actually change my segments there. So amount of segments, I'll just crank it up a little bit. And we can apply an FFT modifier, make it a 3x3x3. And what we can do right now is select, right now, as you can see, it is applying only all those selected polygons we have selected before. I don't want that, I want to apply it on a whole object. So the way to do this is simple, you just apply an edit poly modifier to cancel out this selection, and I will apply my FFT modifier again. Select my control points and make it higher so it looks good. Now we can play around with this spline again and test it if everything's working good. I'll select my vertex, change it to Bezier, play around with those values. I can reset my tangent, reset tangents. So this is working. What if I add some vertex to it? I'll make it a corner, add another one, so add another one, connect it. Well, it looks like it's coming from a candy land or something like that, but you get the idea. And everything's working perfectly, as you can see. So this is basically how you can do something like this. I hope you find this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.